Today with me it's Mr. Jamshed, and he is doing Catalystic coaching. I'm not even sure what it is, but that's why we are doing these interviews, so he can tell us more about himself, about his business, how he get into it, and what are his plans, and maybe he'll give you some tips or advice for yourself if you are just starting in any business what you do. Jamshed, tell us more about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today, Vincent. Just a little background of myself. I've actually been a corporate trainer before I became a coach. So I used to train management and leadership, security and first aid. Apart from this, I've always been an on-job trainer as well in my previous jobs that I've worked with. 20 years in the aviation industry. Training is something I've always enjoyed because I think I'm a people's person. I love having the interaction with people. I'm also an author. I've written a book on peak performance, which is my niche.
How is the book called?
The book is called I Could, I Did. So yeah, my basic niche is peak performance. So I help CEOs, I help entrepreneurs, business owners, to be more productive, to build more confidence. I've helped quite a few people now because I work globally, actually. One of my biggest person that I follow is, of course, Mr. Tony Robbins. Of course, I could never be the same as him, but I try my best to keep my seminars as entertaining and interesting as his.
Yeah, that's very good. Amazing. I'm happy to hear that. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, of course, as well. And
who isn't?
I know some people they aren't.
Well, whoever knows him, they are.
Yeah. When you say that you are doing the coaching globally, so you said a lot of things are online. So do you do more like group sessions, or is it like one-to-one coaching?
I'll do both. So say if I'm working with an executive, like say a CEO, it's usually one-on-one. If I'm working with a team, then it's in a group.
And when you do, for example, those one-to-ones, is it a Zoom call, phone call? How do you have your sessions around?
It's either Google Meet or Zoom, one of them.
Okay, so it's a face-to-face interaction. When it comes to these Zoom calls, just a question, because I'm also doing coaching, so I'm just wondering, do you record those calls so you can get back to it if you need to, or also good for clients or how he's moving forward?
I do record them, yes.
Yeah.
Just so that I can keep checking on them.
And when you said about these seminars, and you are running those seminars sometimes, those are live events, yeah?
Those are live, yes.
And where about are they? Like what cities? Where do you go? Because I would like to come.
Egypt. I've done them in Kenya. I've done them in Turkey.
Nothing in UK?
I am actually about to planning. It's still in the planning stage of doing one in Edinburgh, where I'm based.
Oh, amazing! No, so that's great because I'm 15 minutes from Edinburgh.
Yeah, and I'm also looking for coaches to collaborate for this seminar as well.
Yeah. So I'm in. And you have a date already for the Edinburgh one or not yet? You're not sure?
Not yet. I'm actually looking for venues at the moment.
So yeah, keep me updated about that one because I'm very interested to see how it goes, because I have run some events last year. It was regarding property, and this year it was more like a mindset things. And I hosted 6 events this year at the beginning of the year. There were some in Edinburgh, some in Glasgow, but I was struggling to get the people commit to come actually. Because obviously I'm that little, like you mentioned, big names.
Yeah, so
were you charging them or was it free?
Yeah, so I tried both. I tried for free, and I tried charge a small amount just to get them a little bit more committed. But anyway, doesn't matter. Important is that, I ran the seminar even if there was only 5 people. I did it the same, there will be 50 people, so it's good for practice. But yeah, I'll be more than happy to come to your seminar and see how you are running it, because as you said, you are a big fan of Tony Robbins, you want to do interactive, so yeah, that'll be awesome.
Absolutely.
And you said you ran some events already in Egypt and Kenya and those states, yeah? Okay, yeah. Why over there?
Why not over there? Tell me that.
No, I mean, I've been in Egypt just once for the holidays, and when I'm thinking where to run the seminar, it's not something that would come to my mind right away, let's go to Egypt. It wouldn't.
One of the main reasons for actually doing that is because if you look at all the major places, there are already too many people already trying to do their coaching. If you talk about places like Dubai, if you talk about places like Qatar, like India, there are already thousands of people already working over there.
Yeah.
So I was looking for places where coaching is still not very popular. When I did my first seminar, I struggled to get people in. I had a seating capacity for 300 people.
Wow.
And I only had maybe hardly 50 people show up.
But it's still good. 50 people, it's good.
It's a start. But now when I go to Egypt and now when I do seminars, if I've got 300 seating capacity, I get more than 300 people coming in.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. And the event when you run, it's like one day or multiple days?
No, just one day.
Huh? So what is mainly the event about? So what is the outcome for that person? If I'm new, I want to come, what is it I can get from that event after that full day of interaction?
I actually spread my day in the seminars into 3 phases. The first one is I talk about what exactly coaching is and why coaching is important. Not only to people who are professionals or executives, but to any Tom, Dick, and Harry. And then I shift to how somebody can become a coach. I'm also a coach trainer, so I also train coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So then I talk about that. And then lastly, I come to my main niche, which is peak performance.
First, you describe what is the coaching, why they are doing it, why it's important for people to do it, and if actually they are interested about becoming coaches themselves. So this is the second part for them. So there'll be 2 types of people. Some people wants to become coaches because they have something to share, and some people they want to be coachable because they want to learn things from you, right?
Absolutely.
And the third part is peak performance, which is for both, because if you are new and getting coached, you need to get to that performance in order to achieve something. And the same for coaches, right? When you said you've been in the corporate world like 20 years, you mentioned?
Yeah.
When was like this time when you said like, okay, I don't want to do it anymore, I will do something on my own? Like, what kind of shift or multiples shift had happened in your mind when you decided to change that? Because there is a lot of people, they are in corporate world or they're working, but they are maybe thinking about, doing something different because they don't like it, but, they don't go over the edge. They don't do it.
When it came to career or job, I was always known as a hopper.
Mm-hmm.
I would keep hopping between one job to another.
Yeah. Okay.
But even though I used to jump, I always stayed within the same industry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I actually made my way as a startup position to a senior management position.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I would keep hopping is because, see, I was always a peak performer myself. I just didn't know the term that this term is called peak performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's just recently after I started becoming a coach that I figured out, okay, this is called peak performance, and which is why I wrote a book on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So because of my peak performance, I wasn't very liked by my bosses.
Mm-hmm.
Because at times I used to be better than them as well.
Mm-hmm. That's what they should like, actually.
Yeah, but not every boss likes that.
Yeah.
Especially when they start seeing you as a threat to them.
Okay. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So the minute I used to start having that, tension with my boss, I used to start looking for another job.
Yeah.
Because I don't like all this tension and friction and all that. For me, I'm to the face. I say things how it is. You like it, you like it. You don't like it, too bad.
Yeah.
Right? And then before I actually moved to Edinburgh, I was based in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
I used to live there. And then when I moved to Edinburgh, finding a job here I was facing a lot of difficulty. Because wherever I was applying, and believe me, I made more than 300 job applications.
Mm. Okay.
And almost 250 came back saying I was overqualified for the position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I didn't have a choice, because even if it's an entry-level job I'm applying for, they're saying, sorry, you're too qualified for this.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm applying for a senior management post, they're saying, no, you're too qualified for this as well. So what do I do? Where do I go? So I tried my luck in whatever. I did. I worked as a delivery driver. I worked as in a takeaway. I've done a lot of odd jobs.
Mhm.
And then I tried my luck in the aviation industry here as well, but the pay was absolutely rubbish,
Mhm. Okay.
especially compared to what I was used to. And then I figured, you know what? After 5 years of almost struggling between jobs and finding jobs over here, I decided that, you know what? I've had enough.
Mhm.
I need to get away from here and become a freelancer, which is when I got into full-time training, freelance trainer.
Mhm.
And I started training management and leadership, and I started training first aid and security and all that.
Okay.
And then one day I was just watching, surfing the YouTube, and I came across Mr. Tony Robbins. And I was listening to him, and I got so intrigued by what he was saying
Mhm.
that I actually binge watched almost all his videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? This is what I want to be.
Mhm.
And then I started, researching more about coaching and all that. And then I started doing my coaching certifications, my diplomas. So I'm a certified professional life coach. I'm a certified law of attraction coach. I'm a certified transformational coach. I'm a certified NLP practitioner.
Mhm.
And then I thought, you know what? How do I decide what niche I'm going to coach?
Yeah.
And then I just, sat down and I started brainstorming, and I started looking at all the options that I felt comfortable with. And then I was reading a book. I can't remember the name of the author, but it was a book on peak performance.
Mhm.
And when I read it, I was like, this guy is describing me.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, this feels like familiar territory for me.
Mhm.
I was like, no, this is what I'm going to start looking into.
Yeah.
And that's how I decided, okay, I'm going to go into peak performance. Because when you do say peak performance, it's not just one aspect, To be a peak performer, there's a certain thing you need to have to be able to become a peak performer, which includes mindfulness, which includes confidence, which includes achieving your goals. So it's like a mixed package of everything else.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's how I decided, okay, this is for me, and this is where I'll go now.
When you mentioned from the beginning, like you check, in between the jobs, and after you've seen this video from Tony Robbins, I had exactly the same thing. So I was the same, like I was working as a waiter in the restaurant and came home exhausted, and just on the YouTube, and suddenly Tony Robbins was there and was listening to him. I'm like, wow. And I started listening more and more, and that's why I discovered more things and signed up for his coaching and more. And when there is someone, for example, who might be, struggling there between jobs, or they are working somewhere when they don't like it, they just need some word which they stick to them to hear from someone. And it can be anybody, it can be you, it can be me, it can be Tony Robbins, it can be Brendon Burchard, it could be anybody. It's just like they need to hear it, and it needs to kind of make a shift in their hand, and they need to say, like you said, because I said the same words, like enough is enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
it's just that first push,
Yeah.
a few words of inspiration that you need initially.
And once you decide that this is what you want to do, and you don't need to have a clear path, like you said, like you've done this certification for this coaching, and you still didn't know where you'll fit in all of that, which is fine, because firstly we need to get all the knowledge into us, and after, okay, what's gonna be the best for me, where I'll see myself as the most, and you find yourself as a peak performance coach, which is great. When did you done all these certifications with certain people? Like, did you have to pay for it?
For some, yes.
Yes. Okay. And have you invested already a lot of money into your training?
I won't say a lot, but
maybe not a lot for you. Maybe for another people it's a lot. When I was starting,
I don't see it as investing money. I see it as investing in myself.
I know.
And when you invest in yourself, then
yeah,
there's no limit, or there's nothing too high or nothing too low.
Yeah, I get that. And also what I get is, like, when I was signing up for my first ever course, it was in 2019. I been asked to buy, I wanted to buy. It was for £2,000, and it was from Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. that knowledge business blueprint course, and I was like, wow, £2,000, because I was working in the restaurant, so it was like whole my salary, right? And I was like, yeah, I don't have that kind of money, so how to do it? And it was very difficult to make this first investment into myself. And also when I said to my wife, and she was like, yeah, that's kind of a lot of money. I was like, yeah, I know, I never invested anything like that into myself after I graduated from school, you know? So it's just like, it's good to go backwards a little bit sometimes, because when I was making £2,000 a month, because I wasn't making more than that, for me, it was a big commitment to do. And when I've done it, obviously I was very happy, and since that I invested much more into different courses and coaches. But it's just like this first investment, it's so difficult. I feel like when you are in this employee mindset and to do something new, you know, it's like, I feel like people have this problem to kind of do the initial, like when they decide to make this first investment into themselves. Yeah. Would you have any recommendation for that?
From personal experience, what I'll say is when I first did my first up, I've actually done my life coaching certification twice.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is because when I did the first one, it was a free one.
Yep.
And when I did that, I had a lot of confusion about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of things I wasn't clear about. Then I did the second one. I've also done a lot of courses from Tony and Madenis Institute.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what I have figured out is, yeah, you're getting a free thing and you're getting a certificate in the end of it, but you're not really learning anything much from it.
Mm.
There'll be a lot of things that you will not be 100% clear about. Like if you're actually speaking to somebody and doing a course, irrespective of whatever the price, because there are coaches who charge you maybe £200 for a coaching certification. There are people who will charge you £2,000. That's good, but as long as the person knows what they're talking about, and as long as they're able to remove your confusions, that's what matters. Personally, that is what I feel.
Yeah.
So, which is why after I did my first certification, I wasn't feeling comfortable about it. So then I went to a second one. I paid for it and I did it. And whatever questions I had, those questions were clarified for me.
I mean, sometimes there is something which can be obviously for free and valuable and it's good, but very often there is a reason to it when something is for free and something is paid, right? So why people buy a certain car, or this is cheaper,
Absolutely.
This is more expensive. This is all difference in what you get afterwards. And I have just a stupid example, but just like I bought the computer a year ago because mine got broken and I need something quick, like in that day, because I was flying back home to Czech Republic because my grandmother died and I wanted to work in the meantime on the plane and before and when I was waiting. So I didn't want to waste that time. So I did buy a computer for £250, which is like super cheap for a laptop. And a week ago, it just stopped working. It's just like open it and nothing. Stopped working. So I was like, oh, okay, I bought another cheap thing. And it was the second computer. The first one was £500. This one is £250. And I'm like, okay, I'm stopped buying these cheap things because they keep breaking. So I just decided to go with something more expensive, which hopefully will be better. But it's like with this, when something is cheap, like people sometimes expect that, you know, they're going to get all the answers when it costs £50, but it's not really like that, you know?
Absolutely. Also, that reminds me of a saying my dad always says, good things aren't cheap and cheap things aren't good.
Yeah. One of the also coaches what I had, he was always saying, because we are in property business, he's saying like, when you hire a builder, it's like, you know, so that you find a cheap builder, so you pay cheap, but pay twice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. So when you said also about these, when you have your clients and you work with them and you said like it's about mindfulness and energy and all those things. So how the session goes, for example, if you can share, I don't know if you want, but if you want to share, like you have the session with someone and he turns up on the session and you want to discuss something. I don't know how the session would go and what would you kind of do with that person? Like just a short example.
It's always about the person, where that person stands and where that person is looking to get to. Once we figure that out, that's when the actual thing starts. First, we talk about and explain to them what peak performance is all about, what exactly it does. And then I have a program which I call the Peak Master Program. It basically follows my book.
Mm-hmm.
I have topics in there. So first thing, like for example, the first thing we'll do is create your self-awareness. And then there are 9 steps that I follow.
Mm-hmm.
And these 9 steps I usually complete within 10 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
But it also depends, because there are some clients who say, no, you're going to give me 10 classes in 10 weeks. I want those 10 classes in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
I'd say fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But normally I'll do 10 classes in 10 weeks, 1 class a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually for 45 minutes. Sometimes it can stretch up to an hour. After the self-awareness, we go into the mental toughness.
Mm-hmm.
After the mental toughness, we go into... See, when I say self-awareness, what I mean is your personal compass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how to... And that compass is basically your North Star in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you to get to where you want to get, understanding of that. And then it's your mental toughness. And then there's meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, meditation is a very personal thing. I give tips of what can help.
Mm-hmm.
But in this point, it's the client. It's up to the client what they feel comfortable in.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so you have these processes, like every week there is a different process they are going through. So it should help them to basically focus on every week on certain level and basically be adding and adding more and more. So by the end of the 10 weeks, they are kind of like all the levels where they've been. They had the start level, so they higher it up. So they are on the higher level, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like I said, I usually do it for 10 to 12 weeks. So sometimes if I feel like, no, this person hasn't completed this week properly, or he's still not 100% there, then I give another week for him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm just asking just how you do it, because, for example, I'll just give you one of my examples from yesterday. Coaching client, I had a session with him. It was over the Zoom. I do usually over the phone call, and he wanted to do Zoom call. And basically, he hired me to teach him about particular strategy in property business. And that was our second session, but he was sitting there all like no energy, in a state like, you know, I don't give a shit. So basically the first half an hour he was expecting that we'll be talking about this strategy and I'll give him the knowledge, but I told him like, it's not gonna work. If you'll be in state like that, it's never gonna work. So we were doing things what you would never expect. We were doing jumps and push-ups and things like that, just to boost his energy, just to create this new person in him. And he was like, what's going on? I thought, you know, we will be speaking about property. I was like, there's no point, because you are not open to hear that. And I just wanted to share that as example, because sometimes people think like, I don't know if Tony or Dean or a lot of people are saying that like, we are selling them what they want, but we need to give them what they need, right?
Absolutely.
You said that, you know, you've been 20 years of debt after you've been in between jobs. What would be your personal, like a why, your driving force, which keeps you moving forward, like doing these events and organizing for many people, doing coaching? Why you are doing it?
For me, it's because if I can do it, why can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to like, one of the most common answers I get is, you know, when I ask somebody, what is your goal? Oh, to make money.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's not really a goal, is it?
Yeah.
It's a wish.
Yeah.
So I actually, you know, for me, the greatest thing is like the satisfaction that I get after end of that 10 week, when I feel like, wow, this guy was there and now he's there.
Mm-hmm.
I had one client, Imran. He was a very, you know, introvert, quiet, shy, zero confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I had no goals in life, you know.
Yeah.
Believe me, 9 weeks later, he called me and he was like, my friends cannot recognize me.
which sometimes can be scary for the friends because they're like, what's going on with him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like he's a completely new person. We don't know this guy.
Yeah.
But then, the satisfaction of knowing that you made a positive change in somebody's life.
Yeah.
That is, for me, that is the greatest satisfaction.
No, you are right. I mean, I see like, again, like Tony Robbins is always talking about that that people gives him the energy to do more and more.
And I totally understand his point. I totally understand where he's coming from.
I think, I have the same as well. For sure, it's, when somebody, I don't know, that was the first time ever somebody get me a message like, I received your book, it was like 1:30, and in the evening at 9 or something, she texted me, sorry to disturb you, but I already finished your book. I'm like, wow, it was never happened to me before that somebody would read it in one go, and she was so happy, and she booked a session with me, and the thing is, like, I was like so happy that somebody is reading what I wrote like a year ago actually, and it's helping them to achieve some things. Like, it's a very good feeling to have. Yeah, so it's very powerful, definitely.
For me, like, once when I talk to people about peak performance, I usually follow their absolutely 9 exact steps, which I've just recalled now. So I just wanted to break that down again for you. So step 1 was explaining what peak performance system is all about. And then we do the creating your personal compass.
Yes.
And then we talk about mindset management. Because, your mindset is the most important thing. No matter what you want to do, whether you want to be a peak performer or whether you want to be confident or anything you want to do, you have to have the want in your mind first. And then we talk about mental toughness development, how to make your mind your more tough. And then we talk about goals, how you set a goal and how to achieve those goals. And then we talk about building consistent and unshakable confidence. And then we talk about focus, like, how to get your focus to where you want it to be.
Yeah, it's very important. Like, I think from what you said, all of them are super important, but like, I think the controlling your mindset to know, how to work with that, it's crucial. Would you want to give us one example, either on yourself or one of your clients? Like, I don't know, they've been in some kind of a state, and after, with some exercise, they've been able to overcome that and they could move forward.
See, what I feel helps my clients in general is the fact that after we have done all these steps, we actually end the program with visualization. And I feel like, when I talk to them and I told them, look, you've built everything up till here. Now I want you to visualize your life, where will you be in a certain month's time or maybe in a year's time, and using everything that you've just learned. And when they visualize that, I think they find it easier to grab the whole concept of whatever we have gone through in those 10 weeks.
Very interesting. I'll write it down because it'll be good to maybe think of that for my coaching as well, because I do visualization with them at the first session, because I want them to imagine where they will be after our coaching is done. So let's say 3 months, 6 months, depends what they go for. So we can set up the goals, depends on how long they are coached for. So they I want to get them into that state with the visualization exercises, so I know where they want to be. But I didn't think of to maybe also give it as one of the last sessions. So from what they already learned in this, let's say 12 weeks, they already have a little bit different now ideas. They accomplish some things, so they can visualize the things for the next, for example, year, how they will be working on. So that's a good point. If it's all right to steal it for my last coaching session.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I have you here, because I wanted to steal ideas.
Happy to help, no problem.
Yeah, it's very good. And I guess this is from your law of attraction coaching.
Yeah.
And did you do it with? Because I know, I'm not sure, but I've only seen like Bob Proctor. His company was doing those things, or?
No, I haven't done it with him, but I have actually attended a lot of, not attended, but gone through a lot of his seminars. I love how he's described your basically your self-consciousness. Your how your self-consciousness actually makes your conscious side believe what it believes.
Okay.
I can't remember the word for it now.
Yeah, don't ask me. I'm from Czech Republic. Not many words I know. So
it's on the back of my head. It's just not coming out now.
So that's very good. Let me just check. We have 12:40 almost, so we'll be wrapping it up. You shared a lot today with us, so which is amazing. Thank you very much for doing that. And I always have a question at the end, and I'll give it the same question or similar question to everybody. If there is someone who is watching and they want to start, their business, or maybe they have some idea. Usually, people who are watching me is more like people who are like in the job position and they want to kind of get out of it, but they are scared. They are scared because they don't want to lose their income, and maybe what if this doesn't work, and they have those self-limiting beliefs. So what would be like 1 or 2 tips or advices you would give them to help them to start or change that so they can actually achieve that and start living the fulfilled life?
See, first of all, to people like that, the first thing I would highly suggest is do not leave your job first.
Okay.
Unless you have ample savings and you can live off those savings for the next year or 2. Secondly, if they do want to go into a business, they need to be sure that they have researched everything about that business before they venture into it. Because a lot of times, like even I have friends who will come and say, start investing, just to use an example, start investing in Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, why? Oh, everyone's investing in it. Okay, but why? You don't know the why. They just know that everyone is doing that, so let me do it as well. Even now on my Facebook, I get almost every day, I'll get at least 10 people send me a message asking me to invest in Bitcoins.
Yeah. What? So do you do it?
No, I don't.
Why?
Why not? I'm not interested in Bitcoin, to be honest with you. Yes, have I ever invested in Bitcoin? Yes, I have. I bought my first Bitcoin for I think $100. And that was the first and the last investment I made. I still have that Bitcoin.
Okay.
And I've left it. I'm not going to touch it for, let's see what happens.
You don't want Bitcoins, you are saying cash is the king, yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So go on.
Yeah, so somebody who's I just keep your security first. That is what I will always suggest. Keep yourself secure. You don't want to invest every penny that you have saved into a business and you don't even know why you're investing in that.
Yeah.
So play your game properly, know what you're doing, and do it right.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I'll just quickly recap. So do not leave a job first. So that reminds me of Jim Rohn, when he's always saying, like, in a job I was working to make my living, but in my part-time job, which was his business, I was making my fortune, which I like the saying. I didn't know that. I never heard that before I started. So I quit my job, and after I was struggling.
There you go.
Very difficult, but I made it happen anyway. And the second thing is research before you start. So, and especially like you mentioned, to know your why. So why would you start this kind of the business? What is the outcome? And probably focusing on the long term, right? Not
absolutely
short term gains. Like what is it? And that's to do with having the job. So if you are in a job, you don't want to be in a situation that maybe it's not gonna work. So just deal with what you can do. And I think there is a lot of things you can do with no money, because you can find people with money. It's more about the idea and the execution, right?
Because end of the day, if you're jobless as well and your business does not succeed, what will you do then? And also, what if you feel like you were better off doing a job and business is not your thing?
Yeah.
Because I have met a lot of people who used to complain and whine about their job, and they wanted to go into business, but when they went into business, they were like, no, this is not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And they went back to their job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to do. Start small on the side. See how you feel. If you're enjoying it, if you're loving it, go full guns blazing.
So thank you very much, Jamshed, for your time today. I'm so happy that we managed to do that, this interview. I'm so happy, and you shared a lot with us today, which is amazing. And I'll be definitely in touch with you. We are in touch anyway, because I'm really interested to come into your seminar or to help you out or to promote you, the seminar, so you can gather more people. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vincent, for having me on today. And your help is always appreciated.